Speedrunning has been around for a long time, dating back all the way to the Atari 2600 days, and gaining more momentum during the late 90s and early 2000s. A lot of popular speed games were established during this time. When it comes to discovering new strategies, glitches, and shortcuts, however, those are unpredictable. Whether it's naturally found by accident or by brute forcing the game, there's never a surefire way to find glitches, and are generally found years after the game's first speedrun. However, there are exceptions. This is the story of how a simple flash game was taken to its limit just days after it was discovered. This is the record progression for Curious George Pumpkin Boo. On October 26th, 2013, the TV special Curious George, a Halloween Boo Fest aired on PBS Kids. The special was focused around George's first Halloween in the countryside and getting to the bottom of an old Halloween legend with his friend Allie. To celebrate this movie, a tie-in game was created called Curious George Pumpkin Boo, released 2 days prior. The game was simple. Players took control of George and had to collect pumpkins and navigate his way through the pumpkin patch to get to the festival. There were also bunnies that George could catch but weren't required to beat the level. There are 7 levels, or patches in total, each level having a different amount of pumpkins required to catch. Once you beat the game, a song from the TV special plays, notifying that you've beaten the whole game. When the game was released, it didn't get much coverage at first, but over the years, videos of people playing the game would surface, garnering hundreds of thousands of views. But all of them were simply regular playthroughs of the game. Actual speedruns of the game didn't come until 7 years later. On November 7th, 2020, the first and earliest known speedrun of Curious George Pumpkin Boo was achieved by runner Alaska Bell with a time of 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Unfortunately, the speedrun isn't available. All we know is that this would be the first of many speedruns to come. Now, things were quiet until 11 days later, on November 18th, 2020, when a new challenger had stepped up to the plate. It was a user by the name of Real Vonic, who submitted a run with a time of 6 minutes and 11 seconds, beating Alaska by an entire minute. Unfortunately, this run also didn't have any surviving footage, so all we can go off of is the leaderboard on speedrun.com. But then, on the same day as this record, a groundbreaking discovery had occurred, one that would break the game entirely. By looking through the game's code, Real Vonic discovered that the game had the Konami code built into it, which would allow the player to instantly beat the game. This was originally put into place as a debugging tool, but somehow made it into the final game. Now, one question remained. Who was going to break the 6-minute barrier? Well, it wasn't Alaska. It wasn't Real Vonic either. It was actually a guy named Aiden, who ended up taking the time down to 34 seconds. His strategy was simple: put in the Konami code and then beat the first level. What he didn't know, however, is that beating the first level wasn't even necessary, because approximately 1 minute later, the record will be shortened to just 12 seconds with a new strategy. First, once the narrator is done talking, go into the menu and put in the Konami code. This will unlock all the patches and bunnies, but not any of the pumpkins. To unlock the pumpkins and finish the run, go into a level and then exit back out, and the credits music will play, signifying the end of the game. This run was achieved by me. Yeah, My run was the first official sub-minute run since Aiden's run was never uploaded publicly, and the first sub 30-second run. Not even 10 minutes later, I would lower the record down again to just 6 seconds. The strategy? Click play, put in the Konami code, and then click the menu button. And that record would stand for just 30 minutes.
Click the green button to start. George wants to go to the festival.
Nebo, a newcomer to the category, had managed to shave a second off, coming in at 5 seconds and 20 milliseconds. The strategy used was largely the same, the only difference being optimization when it came to putting the code in. And that record would stand for 30 more minutes. Because BKTT Love, another newcomer, had not only broken the sub 5 record, but also broke the sub 4 barrier too, clocking in at 3.65 seconds. But not even an hour later, Nebo would take back the world record by merely 2 seconds. And the race was afoot. Okay, I'm gonna stop the video right here. Can you spot the mistake in this run? That's right, my run was timed incorrectly. Instead of ending the run when the pumpkins show up, my run ended when I hit the menu button. This means that my run was actually a 4.25 run and not a 3.2. Which means it's not a world record at all. But this isn't the only run that I timed incorrectly. My 6-second run was actually timed too late, meaning instead of it being a 6-second run, it's actually a 4.96, meaning Nebo would have never had a world record. But no one caught that. And to be fair, it's just a really simple flash game that only ended up on the leaderboards because someone wanted a world record. I mean, why am I even making this video? Love's 3.06 record would last longer compared to the previous ones, but only for 2 days. Because on November 21st, 2020, a new runner by the name of ShinXI would make waves by breaking the sub 3 barrier with a time of 2 seconds and 950 milliseconds. But it didn't stop there. December 8th would mark a new world record from runner Minifridge, who was new to the category but not the game, as they had previously held the record for the normal 80% run. The day right after, however, Minifridge would lose the record to Love once again with a time of 2 seconds and 30 milliseconds, the closest that anyone could get to a sub 2 second time. And that's where the record stood for an entire year. But that didn't mean the game was dead. You see, the 2 other categories for Pumpkin Boo, Any% and Bunny% were gaining more and more traction during this time. Any% is beating the game without the Konami code, and Bunny% is the 100% category, where you collect all the pumpkins and all the bunnies. As more strategies and skips surfaced, times would get drastically lower, and soon a strong community would emerge with one goal in mind: push the game to its limit. And that's exactly what they did.